I'm S.A. Bradley, and welcome to Hellbent for Horror, a podcast devoted to all things related to horror, where I remind you that you used to love horror movies, and you secretly still do. I've always been drawn to obsessive folks, from fiction writers to comic book artists to next-generation horror hosts to owners of drive-ins. These folks intrigue me. They are the people who love what they love so intensely that just being a spectator is not enough. These folks are compelled to create. They are compelled to share their passion and their joy with others. For myself and many others like me, the movie theater is our cathedral, and horror films are sacred offerings. And just like other temples of worship, horror cinema creates holy objects. And there are those folks who carefully collect these items and put them in a reliquary to keep them safe and preserved. Like other religions, movies give objects power through a spiritual experience. And today, my guests are two of these keepers of the sacred objects, James Azrael and Ernesto Avina. They are curators of the HSPPA, the Horror and SciFi Prop Preservation Association. It's a not-for-profit museum of screen-used and production-made props, costumes, and film relics that focus on the horror and science fiction genres. Ernesto is a graduate of the New England School of Law and an executive producer of several indie films such as It's Just a Game, as well as Dee Snyder's So What music video. And since its 2015 inception, Ernesto has been a curator and exhibitor for the HSPPA. James is the founder and head curator of the HSPPA and been in the entertainment industry for over 25 years as a professional musician, radio personality, actor, and film producer, and he holds a master's degree in education from Columbia College, Chicago. With the HSPPA, in 4 years' time, James has curated over 70 exhibits across the USA and authored 3 art books on the props in the museum. Props, monsters, museums. What else could you possibly want? Well, would you believe at the center of all of this are cupcakes, props, pastries, and passion. They are going to be the themes today, and here to explain are Ernesto and James. Folks, welcome so much to the show.
Howdy ho. Thanks for having me, Scott.
Oh, thank you for having us.
This is wonderful. I love when I first met you folks. So we're going to have a little bit of a full disclosure here in a little bit. But it was an amazing thing, and it was an unfolding adventure to find out what you folks were all about. So I guess the first thing I want to do, which is I do with everybody that comes on the show, is I love to find out what was your first kiss with horror? What was the thing, the movie or the book, whatever it was that bit you and it took you down this terrible path of destruction that goes on an entire lifetime? So, Ernesto, do you want to start?
Sure. So I think it was in the early 80s, 83, maybe 84. You know, I probably was an 11 or 12-year-old kid. And there was a movie theater that was about a block away from my house, and it was a Saturday afternoon. I asked my mom for permission to go see a movie, not knowing what was being played or, nothing. I just wanted to get out of the house and see a movie. So I go, and there's this old guy who owned the theater, and I saw a poster for a movie called Pieces. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie, but the imagery on the poster was pretty intense for a 12-year-old. So I give my $5 or whatever it was. I go buy my popcorn, my soda. I sit down. And let's just say that I was dead silent the entire way. The movie just captivated me, and I've been a fan of horror ever since.
Captivated. That's the right way to say that movie. That's hilarious.
How much of the popcorn did you get through?
Well, whatever went through went out immediately afterwards. That was pretty disturbing.
I love that you knew somebody who was part of a theater. I think that's something maybe all of us have in common. I had someone that was at the Hershker Theater in Pennsylvania where I was living, and it was just the guy that would let me go up and sit next to the projectors and let me see what was being done on the, when they used to have the press kits. And so you'd see, if the movie makes it to the second week, say held over for a second amazing week and stuff like that for print paper. And it's just one of those things where you're not just seeing the movie, you're kind of immersed in it. And so, James, how about yourself? What was your first kiss?
Well, I didn't have a theater person. I didn't get one of those until I started the HSPPA. And now it's pretty cool. I have almost free reign in this theater, and I love it. So I can only imagine what that would have been like for a kid. But so mine, it's kind of twofold. My there was Universal horror and all that periodically as a kid as you're flipping, but I distinctly remember early to mid 80s flipping the channels here in the Chicago area. There's a station at the time called Channel 66 WGBO, and they played movies on the afternoon on Sundays. And I was just changing the dial, and it stopped, and there were these heads just buried in this garden. And I remember just standing there, just, and I turned the channel, but I would flip back and I flip back, and then I see this guy in a giant pig mask with a chainsaw and coveralls and blood everywhere and stuff. And and I flipped off. I found out years later that was Motel Hell, and that remains my favorite horror movie to date. But that was my true, I guess, introduction to it. But I guess my first kiss, if you will, was Nightmare on Elm Street 4, because I was just obsessed. Fourth grade, I dressed up as the VHS box. We bought the poster, cut arms out in the box. I wrote everything out on the back. My parents wouldn't let me buy the $5 Freddy gloves, so my mom gave me an old gardening glove, and we actually stuck butter knives kitchen through the glove, and that's how I went to school.
Have any pictures?
I've been looking for years, but I do have the poster. And when my mom found it, it's all wrinkled. She had removed it and saved it all those years. But I started bringing it around and telling the actors about my Halloween costume and stuff. And so there's slides of me in this costume.
That's so awesome.
But my parents never labeled said slides, so there's thousands and thousands to go through. So eventually I will find it. But yeah,
when they have the archives in the Azrael Library at the West Wing, that'll be when we find it. I love that you made the glove though, because I was there for the first Nightmare and nobody knew about it. It was a very small film until word of mouth really it blew it up. So my first Halloween after the movie opened, and I can't remember, it was like in September or something like that. I ended up like doing the old oatmeal and shit on the face, and I made the glove with
that way you have a snack for later.
Yeah, exactly. The plastic butter knives that you just melted. So there's the hat. Look at that. Fred Krueger, mother. Fred Krueger. Who's that? But the thing was going to a university, and I'm in a parade and I'm dressed like that, and everybody's like, what is this asshole doing? And then one person went, that's that knife guy. And so it was starting to get at that point. So I love that even all the way to 4, people were still doing that handmade thing, which is kind of cool. Instead of buying it, it's like you're reliving the first 5 minutes of that movie.
It was so uncomfortable though, because I had the stalks of the knife on my fingers just jammed into this old worn leather glove, but think about a 4th grader wearing that to school.
Oh yeah.
And it was A-okay.
Different times. For sure.
Completely different times to say the least. So
that's actually Fred's hat.
From 4?
From Freddy's Dead.
Oh, from Freddy's Dead. That's awesome. It's in such good shape. I mean, you would think it would be in a hell of a lot less wonderful shape, but that's
Speaking
awesome.
of Freddy's Dead, I just ran into Tom Arnold this weekend.
Oh wow!
He's doing well. He's looking good.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I think I saw pictures of him at maybe Days of the Dead. He was taking photos of people.
Yeah,
so it's always good to know that he's up and around. Right. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. So, we're talking about this. I mentioned the cupcakes and all this stuff. So my listeners are like going, what in the heck is this? So I love that meeting you folks was kind of like a horror movie in itself, like this weird layered plot. It looks like one thing, it ends up another. So,
well, I mean, it started off as a horror movie. You just randomly picked us up at an airport.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
and drove into the mountains.
Yeah. So a little disclosure: I met James and Ernesto when I went to Denver for a book event, and the event was at the Stanley Hotel up in Estes Park, Colorado, which is where the hotel where Stephen King came up with the idea for The Shining. And we come into the Denver airport, and that's an hour and a half down south, right, from where this is. Yeah. About 5,000 feet of altitude in between that as well. So a mutual friend asked me, can I give him a ride? And I'm like, okay, this could either be the worst Uber ride ever, or it might be interesting. And I took the chance, and all I knew was that my friend said, you know what these folks do? And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you know how I took you to Spooky Swirls? And he goes, they're part of Spooky Swirls, and they have the props there. And I'm like, oh shit. So to give people an idea what that is, Spooky Swirls is a gluten-free pastry shop in Chandler, Arizona, right? Yep. So when I was at a convention there in Arizona, in Phoenix, my friend took me there, and I saw the amazing props. It was a small concern, it was a small place. But then I find out that Spooky Swirls, more will be revealed. It seems like it's a bigger deal than what I originally had thought. So I bring all that up because I'm thinking Spooky Swirls, all this stuff, and then the story gets a little bit bigger. But how about one of you explain the weird shit of Spooky Swirls that I just said to my audience without going down a rabbit hole of inevitability that starts in like 1999?
Like how Spookies came about.
Yeah, how Spooky Swirls, and how it got famous.
Well, I mean, it's we do gluten-free so good, it's scary. I wish that myself or Ernesto could take the credit for the wonderfulness of Spooky Swirls tasty treats, but that's all our partners and chefs, Chris Sadlowski and Lola Forbes. So how this all came about is through the HSPPA. And I was trying to expand. I've got Craig Champion, who runs my East Coast, curates the East Coast shows and stuff. And Chris was coming on board to do the West Coast. So that way we had pivot points to hit different locations. Because it's really difficult getting, everything cross country easily when you got a trailer at all. So, so I came out to Phoenix to do Mad Monster, an HSPPA show, Mad Monster in 2018, and Chris was joining me there. And she showed up with just a tray of cupcakes with Jason Voorhees on them and little bloody edible machetes. And it was just like the best cupcake I've ever had. I'm not celiac. I'm not, gluten intolerant, nothing. My only experience of gluten-free are cardboard pretzels and crackers, So I had no idea what this was going to be. And it was the best cupcake I ever had. So, more treats came throughout the weekend. At this time, Spooky Swirls was kind of a food truck. But not. They realized that operating a tin oven in the desert.
Oh my God. I can't even think of it.
Yeah. wasn't the best option. So, so they mainly did a lot of custom work out the sides. But, so then on my way home from this, I had nothing but time, and I just started thinking and putting it together because I'd wanted to open a museum or, do something more brick and mortar with the props. Chris and Lola had been wanting to open a bakery. That wasn't a tin box. And I just started putting it together, and I'm like, props and pastries. So I came home and I wrote things out. I pitched it to them. They were totally on board. And then I came to Ernie, because Ernie's been working with me in the HSPPA, and just a good match. So I pitched it to him, and he was on board, and we formed our main company, the Props and Pastries. So yeah, it just kind of
the rest is history.
Yeah.
It's astonishing. It's so wonderfully idiosyncratic, and it just snuck up on me. I'm like talking to these guys in the car. I'm like, so you have a couple props? Because I went to Spooky Swirls. It's not a huge place, but there must have been maybe 30, 40 props.
Oh no, there's about 300
in that little shop. Wow.
I don't know exactly when I think you were there during the pandemic and got special tours, so things were pulled and stuff, so it might have been a little less, but yeah, there's generally a few hundred in there.
So my thought is bakers first, collectors second, right? So I'm like going, oh, well, I guess I've seen all their stuff. I have friends who have these reliquaries in their basements and stuff. Really, people who have old theater seats bolted into their basement, and they watch movies down there surrounded by the Tingler from the early film. So I'm like, oh yeah, how many you got? And they're like, oh, 4,000. I'm like, 4,000, 4,000 props. I'm like, okay. This is not a bakery. No, so what is going on? But it is a bakery, because how you folks started really like branching out, it seems, is that the bakery caught on Instagram. Is that what happened?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook. I don't know like where things come, because they kind of operate
social media in general.
Yeah. They kind of operate in tandem. Because whichever one of us, it's mainly myself and Lola that are posting, mostly Lola doing the posting, but it automatically posts to both accounts, whichever is going there. But yeah, probably Instagram, because that seems to be the hotter side of it.
The interesting thing, though, is even if you do a search of Spooky Swirls, you'll see people that make 5-10 minute videos talking about their experience, and so far I haven't seen one negative video. I mean, there's just all positive. People just love going there and seeing the museum and enjoying 1 or 2 cupcakes and a cup of Death Wish coffee or 8. I mean, it's people have just been posting their own videos, which we definitely appreciate.
The first to bring Death Wish coffee to the greater Phoenix area, as, not as just selling the grounds, but as a beverage you could buy hot there. So that was
So I think the thing is, from Instagram or that kind of social media attention, you ended up doing like catering for things, right?
You're talking about the film stuff. So it wasn't quite catering as it was that they, because I envisioned catering being for 500,000 people or something.
Sure.
This was more of 12 to 24 cupcakes or one cake or something like that. But yeah, for the studios and their marketing partner, they come to us. We do a lot of giveaways and stuff for the movies when they come out. But Warner Brothers, Sony, Netflix.
Okay. I don't know many bakers that have this kind of in. So how does that happen? Right.
Well, they came to us again. They saw our stuff and approached us about it. I must be honest, and I was like, when they first came to us, but like, we're a bakery, this is more of a radio thing, but it really worked out, because some of the stuff they would do, like the marketing side of it, they would buy a dozen cupcakes, and then when they did their press junket, they would bring them to the radio stations and everything. So they're always themed, like with it, everybody got a little like sailboat, Georgie sailboat cupcakes, and so they would all talk about it, on the air and everything, of course. But then we also got hired, and I think it was Warner, Jojo Rabbit. Is that Warner Brothers?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah. So they actually hired us to do a custom cake for the lead actress when she came into town to do some press, and they did a little celebration thing for her. So that was pretty cool. You know?
So that's amazing stuff. And we have a bakery, right? A horror-induced bakery, gluten-free, that has connections with major studios. And this is just a front for your passions. It's just like the frontispiece. It's like the mob. Underneath this is a huge organization of prop collectors who are having all this stuff. So for those that are listening to this
you're
podcast,
not wrong.
Right. So those that are listening to this and are not yet quite watching the video, just so you know, Ernie has in the background the Demon Pazuzu, a life-size Demon Pazuzu statue. And James has a life-size, taller than him, it seems, Jar Jar Binks. Yeah. And multiple things in the background that I can't quite see. I see an Evil Dead poster. I see a bunch of graphics that might be comic books around Ernie. So we're seeing some serious stuff already. If you're a person who loves movies like I do, seeing Pazuzu especially is like, give me a break. Are you kidding me? That's what I would like. Now, and we have a machete that just came into frame in James, and James is like pretending he doesn't know what it is. So which Jason is this, and what film?
So this is the Jason's Hero Machete from Part 7.
Part 7. Okay.
Yeah. So
Hero Machete. Describe what that means to people. There we go. Real metal. So this is the one that Tom Savini would say, stick it in wood, and then we put in the prop one and stick it into a guy's head.
It was actually stuck in the mud. So this is the one that he yanks out of the ground. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. So another thing that's interesting about your pasts, I guess, is that both of you, neither of you are from Arizona. You're both Chicago fellas, right? Do you live in Arizona now, or do you just travel to Arizona?
Nope, we're in Chicago now.
You're in Chicago now.
We just travel there, throughout the year. Before the pandemic, we would have celebrity guests make appearances, and we'd fly out, for those events.
Celebrity guests, didn't you do something with Bruce Campbell?
Well, that was the HSPPA. That was Bruce Fest last year. But with Spookies, we did some signings, like our grand opening celebration. We actually opened July 3rd of 2019, but we had our grand opening in August. Was it August? August 10th, I think.
Yeah.
So a month after, so we had the grand opening, and Paul Taylor, Pinhead from Hellraiser Judgment, came out and was with us all day signing. We had special 11 by 17 posters made. Everybody got one if they spent $10. It's a couple cupcakes. You got a poster with a free autograph on it. So there was a line like just out all day long.
And this is just feeding your habit.
Yeah, like we had to pass out waters to everybody out there, and
it was pretty nuts. It was overwhelming. I mean, people were in line for 3 hours, and luckily we had the local chapter of Ghostbusters help us out, and
doing line control and security.
I love when all this stuff kind of comes together. See, that's what I love about, not only passionate, obsessive people who are really my people, but even just genre fans in and of themselves. We have this thing where we will go, the sense of fun, the sense of play, that I can just go into a place where there might be props and there might be food, which is always a plus, but just hanging out with people who are into that too, bring a piece of it back. So Ernie, I wanted to ask you a question, because your background interests me.
Sure.
So before I started doing this, I was a headhunter for software engineers, recruited for startups, and that was my bread and butter, how I made my living. And then
now look at who has mafia ties.
Yeah, right.
Hitman over here. Headhunter.
Wrong kind of headhunter. But so you have a law degree, and yet you're an avid collector and producer, deep, balls deep in horror and sci-fi. So how in the hell did you get there? What was the?
So, I went to law school and became friends with someone who eventually became an actor himself. His name is Enrique Murciano, and he's Andy Garcia's nephew.
Ooh.
So, through him, we became very close friends. And I guess my introduction into, Hollywood or actors or directors came through him initially. My passion for horror had always, had been there since I saw Pieces by myself in the movie theater as a 12-year-old. So through my friend, I eventually started, one time I had dinner with Liam Neeson in LA, just randomly.
As one will. Yeah.
But so I practiced law at the public guardian's office for a couple of years, and then I went into the family business. Some people question what that family business is, but no, it was a local bakery here in Illinois, and I did that for 17 years, and that basically helped pay for my passion.
Yeah, horror passion can lay dormant. That's the interesting thing. Like you basically talked about going for law, and for me as a recruiter for 10 years doing startups and stuff, there wasn't much call for me to talk about the Blob. It just wasn't coming up in conversations. So it kind of lay dormant for a long time, and I realized that after 10 years of it, that I hadn't talked passionately about what I loved in a long time. I had done it for everybody else. I was carrying the luggage for everybody else. And so I decided to branch out. So did you find that you got this friendship that it just kind of gave you a taste? And next thing you know, you're like going, I forgot how much I love horror. Shit, it can be at the front. It doesn't have to be in the back seat.
Absolutely. And then opportunities just started, falling onto my lap. I had a chance to executive produce It's Just a Game, which, I did with James.
Great movie.
Gotta see it.
I'm definitely proud of that movie. Absolutely. And then somehow I found myself working with Dee Snyder and producing his music video. And, I just kind of caught the bug and went with it. And, here I am several years later, still doing things.
So, James, I know that the HSPPA, it just seems like this is a culmination of a life's passion, a collection. How many collectors are there that are involved in this?
Roughly 30.
Wow.
30. They come in and out. It's as far as like strong crew, if you will, curators and whatnot, doing the shows, doing everything. There's give or take 5 of us. But the exhibitors, that's other collectors. So when we go to a show, like we did New Jersey HorrorCon last, I think it was September, October, November, I don't know. It was last fall. Everything is blurring still for me. One collector came out, brought a couple pieces, a couple Jason and Freddy pieces that were on display there. So that's where all these collectors come from. So I'm one of the things I try to do is to get them to come out, to push that whole take things out from behind the closed doors and share them. That's, most collectors just want to lock it away, and it's my precious.
Yeah.
And in the movie props, and I don't like talking value, but there's a lot of value, monetary value in things. So they want to protect and close that off. Like, nobody can know what I have inside, but the value is what it means to people.
Yeah.
We just did a show in Pennsylvania in Philly.
Good town.
This girl, I started calling her Hufflepuff Dawn. Her name was Dawn, and so she put the Hufflepuff robe on her from Harry Potter. Harry Potter, for those horror fans unsure what a Hufflepuff is. And she just was screaming, like, she started calling people like, oh my God. You won't believe I'm wearing an actual Hufflepuff robe. I'm a Hufflepuff. I'm a Hufflepuff. She's screaming. Like, there's 2 minutes of video I posted to the HSPPA Facebook of her, and it's just incredible, and it's creating that stuff that's invaluable. and why it needs to come out. So, and the more the collectors come out and see that, they want to participate in it because they,
right. It's an amazing amount of power. I like to say that horror fans that I love, the ones that I love, they're collectors of whatever it might be. Sometimes it's information. Some of us are kind of scholarly encyclopedias, want to tell everybody what movies we've seen and what ones might they love. And then there's also ones that have that whole physical thing to it. So you folks get these pieces in front of other people. You just mentioned this, though. You're collectors. You're not hoarders. The hoarders are the people who are like, my precious.
I'm called a hoarder quite a bit.
Well, we may get into that, like where all these fucking things stay. But what is it that you get out of the act of sharing these objects with fans? What is it that you get from this?
I get paid in smiles, man. There's just something about that. I mean, yeah, I need to. Especially these days, I need the gas paid
You're right.
for these things. But HSPPA is a nonprofit. I wanted that from the beginning. That I didn't want this to be a monetization of my collection. No ego involved. It's not called James Azrael's collection, and it's the HSPPA. It's so I don't know how to those smiles, man.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to describe. I mean, it makes you feel good inside to see someone react to something that you own, and whenever someone new comes into my basement, it's
not just about what you own, though. It's just that making that connection for them
that piece.
To make it happen. Do you remember at the Stanley, we were standing there and I was interrupting you. You were doing your pitch and I just kept poking you. Because for those unaware, we were standing next to each other at the table with our books. Because there was a really young girl there just losing her mind over Tiffany's hands from Seed of Chucky, the puppet hands.
Yes.
So that's you got to witness something.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is for books as well. When I'm signing my books and people come up and there was just this woman on Instagram that brought me to tears basically by saying, I can't even tell you, I can't express how much this book means to me. This is my third reading. I'm like, I can't even think of, I had to read it 3 times just for proofing, and that was enough for me. and somebody doing that willingly is amazing. But I look at it as kind of
this book?
Yes, there we go. Oh my goodness. But to me, this is kind of like breaking bread, right? If you want to hang with somebody, you eat with them, you get in those great conversations. And to me, it's like we have this thing where the sacred piece, whatever it might be, a book, a movie, the prop itself, means so much that and I can't explain it either. It's one of those things where, if I tell people what my favorite convention is, they're like, really, that one? Like Cinema Wasteland. And then they're like, well, what do you like about it? We sit in the lobby till 4 a.m. talking about movies till we can't see straight. And they're like, and then what? I said, that's it. That's the thing. And so if you don't get that, if you don't get the joy of seeing, we're finding a sacred love together in this weird way, our love for whatever it is. And I think it's kind of like with the first kiss, and that's going to be my next question to you. So we have the first kiss where I say, this is the thing that bit you, but we're talking also about props at this point. So what was the one that started the consuming passion? I'm assuming it might be Nightmare 4. But what was the first thing, the grail that you were just like, instead of I can watch it, I can talk about it, it's like, no, I need to touch it?
Well, it was a whim purchase. It was Jeepers Creepers 2 barbed wire.
Wow.
And I still have it. I love it. It's one of my favorite items. It's actual metal wire with rubber barbs on it, and I like to pick it up very carefully and then throw it. And everybody catches it with this look on their face that they're going to have things sticking out of it. So I 20 years, and I get enjoyment out of it every single time. But that's when I discovered that, cause I was always doing replicas. I had, Freddy glove made by a guy in Australia, and just different replica pieces and stuff. And then I discovered you could actually own the stuff from the movies. And especially back then, for less a lot of times than what replicas, licensed stuff, and everything cost. But yeah, that was.
Do you have like guys at the studio that call you like just another mob thing, right? Hey, you know what's coming down the pipeline?
Yeah.
Meet me at the corner of 4th and 5th.
I've made trunk deals in a restaurant parking lot in Detroit. Yeah.
So that brings me to like some of the props. I want to talk about some of your favorites, things that might excite people, because you do have a book that has glossy photo pictures of these 3 books that people can purchase to take a look at this, especially if they're really excited. So the thing that got me when I was looking through the book, there's a million things that got me, but one that really stuck out to me was Bill and Ted, the wardrobe of Bill and Ted, because I'm not sure if it's in Chandler, but the original Circle K that they shot at is there. And
it's in Mesa. Yeah.
In Mesa. Okay. So our mutual friend.
It's closing down.
I heard a mutual friend took me there at night so that I could see the poster and everything, but they were closed. They were doing stock. They wouldn't fucking let me in. But it was one of those things where I was going, wow, this is the location. So for me, I do a lot. I'm in San Francisco, so I do a lot of locations. I got to see where this happened. I was back east, so Washington, D.C. is not far. I can see the Exorcist steps. Do you have locations that you're like, or is it just props? Or do you go, I need to touch the door that Stephen King, ate a taco behind, or whatever it might be?
I mean, I'd rather find the taco. That's a good question, because I have obviously done that. Like I went to the Circle K on Bill and Ted Day in 2019. And it was, for me, it was like going to church,
Right.
And the me and Chris, Spookies went in and we got our ices or slushies, whatever they call it in there. And the clerk had no idea what Bill and Ted's even was. I'm wearing my Piggly, my Biggie Piggy shirt, so yeah, I mean that was amazing, and we drove by the water park.
Oh yeah, I can't remember the name, but
Waterloo.
Yeah, and it's still there, right?
Yeah. Where I stay when I'm out there, we drive by that every morning going to Spookies. So I haven't per se sought out locations other than I think the Circle K, but I've ended up at places. First time I was in LA, we ended up having pancakes in the booth at from Boogie Nights, I think it was.
Oh, nice.
I think that was the one that Burt Reynolds and them are in. Yeah. So I mean, and like in LA, like you just turn around and you're on set, right. And my friend took us to the Brady Bunch house, the outside of it, things
Nightmare
like that.
on Elm Street house.
Yeah.
Right next to the Halloween houses. Not the Myers
Pee Wee
house.
Herman's.
Right. Yeah.
Pee Wee Herman's house. I did a couple little tours like that, and stuff. But yeah, if it happens and it's a special place, like I would love to go to Hobbiton in New Zealand.
Everybody would love to do that. I mean, that's actually a real set, right?
Yeah.
It's like
and they turned it into a bed and breakfast, so like you can really stay in Hobbiton.
11sies. You can have second breakfast and 11sies.
Oh God, yeah.
It never ends there.
I would love to go to see the Kyra Dragon and the Sarlacc Pit.
Oh yeah.
And things like that, but at the same time, I've got other things to do than trudge through the desert looking for some old plaster.
I get insane. So it's one of my things where when I got here, I'm a huge John Carpenter fan. I love The Fog, and I found out that Point Reyes and Inverness are just right above San Francisco. Well, not right above. It's a little bit of a windy Route 1 road. But as soon as I got there, I started passing scenes from the movie. And this was before smartphones. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like trying to open my eyes as much as I can to see these things, like the houses that are on stilts that go into the water.
Yeah.
And then the downtown, this Point Reyes station, and then the lighthouse. So going around the corner and seeing the lighthouse for KAB was so huge for me. And I have pictures of me that you can't get a really good picture of it because they open up gates that you can't go down as just a regular person. And I was just like, I can't believe I'm here, man. And I was trying to find places where, okay, this is where they shot Antonio Bay, the first scene when the fog comes up. I spent an hour walking around the top of this mountain trying to find it. And I'm sure it was a soundstage, right? I'm sure the whole thing was, they just put sand over here and a twig.
That's kind of the thing why I'm kind of hemming and hawing on it, that the problem with locations is that that's just what they are.
Yeah.
They're like, you could have a front of a house and the back of the house where the person runs from front to the back outside, and they're in like two different cities, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Escape from New York's a big one with that.
Yeah. So it doesn't mesh up the same way to me unless it's something that really mattered, like the Circle K.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of why I'm hemming and hawing. But if I'm there, like if I showed up in San Francisco and you took us around, I would fucking love it.
Yeah.
You know,
good. See that might happen. I'm still trying to find all the places for the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1978 one. Because that's all the streets of San Francisco. They're all over the place. And it's just so cool that some of that is still around. A lot of it isn't. But I get people to stand and do the end outside of City Hall where he goes, that scream. Because you can literally stand right where that is. And it's a lot of fucking fun. And you'll see people every so often, the real freaks, like hanging out, waiting for people to not be there so they can run out and go, so that's the fun.
Yeah.
So a thing that I saw in your book that drove me crazy, I don't know if it's yours or not, I can't remember, the supernatural rings.
Oh yeah. That's Jim Chico's.
What I want are the cursed scrolls and the amulets from Dr. Phibes. You know, the blood and stuff like that. They're so cool. I want to make them. If I can't find them, I want to make them because they're just friggin' cool. So I have a lot of love for several of the props, but let's talk about the love that you folks have. So I've talked about how right behind you is the demon Pazuzu and Jar Jar Binks, which are pretty much the same thing. I think many people would say there's no difference.
Jar Jar doesn't have his wang out.
Yeah, there you go. He's much more. There we go. Wow, that looks a little polished. What's going on here? That's a little bit more polished than the rest of that statue.
You gotta give it a rub every time you walk by.
Yeah, good luck. It's like the Pope's ring. Talk
or
a little bit. Yeah, ooh, there we go. That's another hour later. That's for the Patreon people. But so let me hear a little bit about some of the things that you absolutely love that can entice people. What are some of the props that are just amazing?
Well, you know, so with HSPPA and the 4,000 prop thing, it's not fully how it started, and I've been pulling away from that. Because the thing I laugh and would say often is I'm a communist collector. That I collect for the people. So I have a lot that I am not attached to. Simply because I need to have different stuff for different shows, for different events, different types, different everything, you know. So I broke my golden rule 2021, and that's I started selling some things off.
Wow.
And I'm getting back to going after the stuff that I personally really want. I've got enough, you know, that I can fill the stores. I don't need to keep communist collecting, if you will. So yeah, I'm getting right back to that, but I wanted to mention that, but I'm going to have Ernie go.
Sure. So, as you can see, Pazuzu's behind me, and that was actually made by Bob Kurtzman, talented effects guy.
It's
K&B Effects. Yep. He actually brought it to my house, and we hung out and had a great weekend. But that is from the movie Wishmaster. I don't know if you remember, there was a scene in the museum where they're walking by and, you know, Pazuzu's there.
That's great.
But I am a huge fan of the original 1973 Exorcist. And for me, one of my holy grails is this guy right here. It is a production used Bible from the set. And even though Linda Blair doesn't sign Bibles, she signed mine.
Wow, look at that. And that's saying a lot, because Linda's not necessarily like really generous about that or the experience of the film. So when you say production, is there a difference between production and screen used and stuff like that?
Right. The production used means it could be on an end table during a scene, but you don't necessarily see it, or it could have been in a drawer in. So you explain it, James.
The term screen used is more of the marketing term, the catch all, because everybody understands what that means.
Right.
That's why I say HSPPA, Museum of Screen Used Movie Props and Wardrobes. But then what you dive deeper, and the real term is production used, and that's the kind of overall everything that was used in production, and that could be hero machete, stunt gun, Freddy's hat. The thing above it, the gravy on the taters is screen matched. Screen matched.
Yeah, that's like the ultimate.
Yeah, that's an exact. No qualms about it. So you take a T-shirt and you find a little thread that's come off. That's a natural oddity occurrence, and you've matched that up.
Right.
So if you could, there's rust on here now. Things have changed and the mud's gone. But let's pretend that you could match the mud up to the thing and be like, because mud's a natural pattern. You're not going to reproduce that. So that's how you screen match. That's your end all. Everything else is kind of production used, and then you break it down from there into production made things, unfinished things that never made it onto screen, but they were there.
Here's a good example of a production made from Jason X, which I know is one of James's favorite movies.
Many people's favorite of Jason's.
I have a Jason. I don't know if you can see it there. Yeah. A Jason mask, hockey mask that was supposed to be used during the scene where Jason gets blown up, but they did it in one take, so they only used one mask.
Yeah.
And this mask is pretty brittle. I mean, if you squeeze it hard enough, it'll
all
break.
scored on the back side, so it'll shatter.
Right?
Yeah.
So, this is not a screen used mask, but it was a production made mask.
Yeah.
They had it on set while they were filming in case,
Did I just see the Zuni fetish doll? I did. So, is that from 2, the remake one, or is that from, what is it? Let me shut up. Tell me.
Are you talking about, the Trilogy of Terror.
Yeah, Trilogy of Terror, Zuni fetish doll, and it looks like Puppet Master. A couple Puppet Master things are there.
Yeah, so not everything here is screen used. This guy is screen used from the movie. God, what is it? What's it? Trolls with Sony Bono was in it, I think.
Oh yeah, Troll 2. Was he in? They turned him into a seed. Yeah.
Right. Full Moon guy, what's his name? Blade or whatever. That's a production. That was the Puppet Master, but it's the prototype of what eventually became the doll. And one of my most interesting pieces is
he's gone. He's off the edge.
I got the pendulum.
Shit. Yeah, Stuart Gordon. Wait a second. Yeah.
That's
hitting the pendulum.
That's the pendulum.
Oh my God. Right, so there. Like Lance Henriksen fondled that.
Yep. Oh yeah. And he's, some people in collecting, some people question whether you should have things signed or not, but I had to have him sign the side of this. I don't know if you can see it right there.
But
bringing that to his table is definitely an experience.
Yeah. How did you? I mean, it had to be in town. It had to be in Chicago.
It was in town.
Yeah, it was on display in the HSPPA's exhibit.
Yeah, because that's huge. I mean, that's no carry-on could possibly.
Yeah,
that's like an Olympic bobsledder might have something that big that they have to take in.
Can I check my pendulum in?
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys talk about signing, not signing. How orthodox are you about that kind of thing in the collecting world, or in just having these things?
I'm very against it. I'd probably say 95% against it, because I have done it, and there are some things I have. More so, I've had to acquire it just because it's already been done, and there wasn't a choice. My issue with it is these things are art. You know, you don't have the Mona Lisa and then draw over the face. And in an artist, he'll sign it in the corner, and it'll still be, like Lance signing the side of the pendulum.
Right.
That works. You sign the inside of the hockey mask, not across the top of it, but
right.
Celebrities sign autographs, and
they
do it their way. Like, I saw an original Captain Kirk shirt that Shatner signed across the chest. Like, that's graffiti to me. You've destroyed what it is.
I heard a great story about Lucio Fulci, where he was doing a signing, and someone had like a mint copy of one of his movies, or maybe it was a book that was written about him, and the person saying, "Can you please put it on the inside?" They're like, he looks at him and goes, and just like the biggest fuck you, he just takes the cover. Just completely tears into it as hard as he can. It's like, don't tell the maestro where he's going to put things. So, everybody has their own little proclivities about that kind of thing. So how about, I love your answer, by the way. I love that we think of these things as art. We think of these things as sacred objects, things such as.
Well, it needs to be too, and for greater purposes than just thought. And that's like, insurance companies don't view it as fine art. They don't view it as antique collectible. So it's got to be treated as such in order for it to become as such.
Yeah.
So
that's a great way to say it. Interesting that you talk about it as art. And, I think about like collecting, and there are, stories about like Forey Ackerman, one of the first great collectors, right? And the shame is that little by little people were stealing all of his exact copies of things that he got off of Lugosi and stuff. They would borrow them for movies and then give him stuff because his mind was going. Do you are you like Nazi hunters, but for props? If you hear that something like that, you're like, God damn it, there it is. Have you ever rescued shit from assholes?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I purchased multiple items that I had no interest in because it was either going to be sold to or was owned by somebody who was going to cut it up and sell it as swatches.
Mm. Yeah, crazy, right? Yeah. What's the weirdest? We talked about trunk buying. I met the guy and we found. What's the weirdest thing that you've had to do to get a piece?
There's really
That's
not
legal.
I was just gonna say there's really not been anything like odd or weird or in that realm. It's just awesome. Just awesome things happen,
I keep thinking of like the beginning of Raiders. To get that statue, you gotta like, okay, meet me over here. Have you ever gone and met somebody and like going, holy shit, look what they've got? Like, I had a comic book collection, and I had a friend who was a comic book collector who like turned pale when he saw some of the originals that I had, and then really turned pale because I didn't put them in plastic. I just read them.
That's actually how I met James. When I met him, it was his first time. I think it was your first.
It was my first HSPPA show.
HSPPA show, and he had Jason's Uber machete from, Jason X. And I couldn't believe that it was in front of my eyes. And, and I just met James. I'm like, can I hold it? And, he took it out and gave it, handed it over. And I was in disbelief that I actually had this machete in my hand. I think I made him a cash offer right then and there, and he turned it down. But that's it's amazing what a prop can do to you, as a fan, or
What's the Holy Grail for each of you? What's the one that, even if you had to go back in time, what was the thing that if you could get it?
I mean, it's lame because it's.
No, it isn't, because it's like Rosebud, right? That whole movie is on a sled, right?
Well, I mean, because I'm just gonna say, Darth Vader's lightsaber.
Fuck yeah!
But I mean, these things are out there. It's just.
Did you say Darth Vader's helmet by chance?
What? Oh Lord! From what film?
It's.
Well, let's see if you can.
Oh my God! Look at that. So recent. Wow, I love that you have that mantle. So for those, is that from Force Awakens? Is that from the first one, Force Awakens? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're seeing, for those that aren't watching, we have under a glass case, which also has the stand, a pedestal itself, has the traditional Star Wars lighting that you see on the Death Star, but it has the crushed helmet, the burnt up crushed helmet of Darth Vader that is in the Force Awakens, which is really a cool prop, because that is a very specific look.
The display was actually made by Tom Spina, who's, a huge Star Wars builder. This is not horror related. That is Will Ferrell's date suit from the movie Elf. It doesn't really go down here, but my wife doesn't want it in the living room, so.
and you absolutely love the thing. I love that you mentioned, James, that it would be Darth Vader's lightsaber, because what always hit me about when Lucas started doing the first 3 episodes, and I was watching the documentaries about it, the big thing that everybody, doesn't matter who they were, they could be Oscar-winning actors, they could have a lifetime of career. All he had to do was say, "Would you like to see your lightsaber?" And they'd be like, "Yes, let me see the lightsaber." Yeah. Every one of them was personalized, right? He knew what he had. He knew this was like a samurai sword, right? Mm-hmm. He knew that this was something that came with honor. And I love that. It has the power. All of our relics that we have, all of these items have power because we give them power. They have power because of a spiritual experience, which is, I just love the hell out of this. For me, Star Wars was a huge deal.
I could trace everything I've done in life to Star Wars.
Yeah.
Everything, every path I've taken has been because of my watching Star Wars.
I can't say enough for it, because I remember I was 10 when it came out. And I'm watching this movie, and it's the same thing. The Star Destroyer is where you get the sea change. The first time you see the Star Destroyer from below, and you're like, at this point is the cut point, right? Oh, that's as long as the ship ever is. You're like, wait a second. This ship just keeps going, and it keeps going. And I remember everybody in this theater going, oh, like we had never seen anything like this before. Like we were seeing the 8th wonder of the world. And that movie just, it hit an entire generation, especially at that time. Those that did not have anything except Logan's Run and stuff like that beforehand. It just kind of blew everything out of the water. And it wasn't just about science fiction. It was truly a spiritual experience for the imagination. And it got everybody thinking in a way that they may not have been thinking in a long time. And so I give it a lot of credit for what it was able to do. How I mentioned Holy Grail, but I don't know if I heard from you, Ernie. I heard Vader's saber, but what's yours?
So I was a huge fan of the movie Demon Knight, Tales from the Crypt. Presents Demon Knight with Billy Zane, and what was the other actor's name?
Ernie, he said, "What is your Grail?" that you don't have.
Yeah.
Oh, that I don't have.
Yeah, you don't
Not that
have
I do
you
have.
wouldn't get, yeah.
But show him that anyway. Show him
Yeah,
that.
may as well, and you may as well do the same thing, James. You got to keep this balance.
So this one might be a little more difficult.
Oh, we lost Ernie,
He's crashed,
and he has no idea.
Yep, he
Yeah.
has no idea.
Right.
Hopefully he'll come back. Oh, I hear him.
Oh,
Okay, there you are. You
Oh,
disappeared
Can
for
you
a
guys
second.
see me or no?
We
Okay.
can see you and hear you.
Yeah.
now.
All right.
when you get
All right,
up
so
and
I'll
walk,
try to do
your reception goes.
Yeah. Must
So
be a
I have
pacemaker.
the blood vial from.
I see myself.
Right. Look at that. Oh wow! Look at that. The blood vial. That's funny. What's it made of? Is it plaster?
It's no, it's
resin.
not plaster. It's resin. But it's one of 3 vials that was used in the movie, and this one actually lights up.
Oh, cool.
So it's the one for. I think they did a close-up scene where that's the blood is glowing or whatever. But yeah, that's my Holy Grail right now.
That's
But if you ask for my real Holy Grail, it would actually be the Holy Grail from Indiana Jones.
That's great. Which one? The real one or the one that was really fancy that he chose poorly?
No, the real one, the Carpenter's one.
Yeah.
I would love to have that in my collection.
That would be
that'd be
awesome.
pretty sweet.
That'd be awesome to have like with your mugs for coffee and see who gets. Holy shit! Look at that.
Right.
Yeah. And just use it. Just say fuck it. Just
Yeah,
use it.
right. I'm sure it holds water really well.
Yeah.
But what these things are of varying quality too. What was the piece that you got that you're like, wow, did they love this thing? Like I think of like the spaceship. What I'd love to get is the spaceship from The Thing. John Carpenter's A Thing, where they like hammered out bronze and everything and coated it with paint and had lights. Now, what's the one that you got that you're like, wow, I can't believe how much love went into this?
I mean, every piece has it. I mean, just artists made it, and artists used it, and an artist created it, like thought of it, and so it all has that. But in general, generally speaking, Harry Potter items are so incredibly detailed made from the basic like stuff you can't even see on screen. The Great Hall in there's beams at the top of the Great Hall, and those beams have that join plate. Those join plates all have the Hogwarts, like perfect detail Hogwarts, etched into every one of them, and you can't see that in the slightest on screen, and that's the kind of detail that they put into the background.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the Harry Potter stuff is pretty amazing how far they went with that stuff.
How about costumes? You have props, but how about costumes?
It's kind of hit or miss with a lot of things. The thing with film when you're talking in general about film and TV is every item has to make it through that scene. Nothing right. is really made to last.
Right.
5 days, let alone 5 years or 50 years. They don't care. It's not in the budget for it. Harry Potter, they went in the first movie knowing that they were doing 9 movies, so that's probably why some of it had and the budget, of course. But this I've been waving around. This is Alice's gun from the first Resident Evil.
Nice.
This is the stunt gun. So it's Ripper. And these are generally used more than what they call the hero, the beauties, the live fire action stuff. And Resident Evil, it's decent budget, but not a big budget film by any means, comparatively. And you'll see this on screen, and in fact, even some of the, not in the first one, but in some of the marketing materials, she's pointing one of the machine guns at the camera, and you can see the seam line on the resin gun. So it's difficult to really like call out who's done like a more superior job or something than the others, just because in general nothing it's not timed or budgeted to do.
The big stuff.
You don't have a year to make this. You might have a month. You might have 5 minutes.
Right. It's one of the reasons though I'd love to find Young Frankenstein stuff, because Brooks had talked about how he didn't realize it, but the people who were making the sets for Young Frankenstein worked in theater. So they built things to stay. And he's like, my God, this is, and so he ended up getting a lot of really cool shots because he could he got on the top of the bookshelf and put a camera up there, whereas normally it'd be balsa and would just kind of fall apart.
If you're lucky, if not cardboard,
So everything that they have in that is made solid.
So that's just what I guess I'm getting at, is just because it doesn't look perfect and stuff doesn't mean it wasn't made with the same amount of passion and desire to create something amazing.
Yeah. People like Rob Bottin ended up sacrificing his health to be able to make props that were exciting and interesting.
This is a dagger from Inglourious Bastards, and it's made out of wood. There were a lot of these in the filming of the movie, so they're not going to make real blades or obviously use real.
Right. Does that even come out of the sheath, or is that just a mold?
No, it's a whole one piece.
Yeah, that's what I
piece
thought.
of wood.
It's all wood.
And those are lighter.
Absolutely, yeah.
I've got Katana's 2 swords from Suicide Squad.
Oh wow.
And the one it's called a sword filler, but it's every shot that you see of her. It's that, and it's just the hilt.
Right.
Because it's just stuck into the scabbard. There's no added sword. So, I mean,
no weight whatsoever. Able to do a million takes.
And because you're going to wear it for 20 hours,
Yeah, that's what they had a styrofoam. I think it was a styrofoam axe for Jack Nicholson during the maze sequence, because days. He's just walking in fake snow for days. You don't want to carry a full iron-headed axe during all of that. That's impressive stuff, folks. I mean, I thank you so much for all the time. Oh, before we stop, I mean, we've been talking about all this stuff. We talked about the number 4,000 a lot, and I have an idea of how big a warehouse needs to be to hold that kind of thing. But where does all this stay? What kind of room do you have?
It's here, man. It's in Tupperware. It's in just everywhere. I have racks in my kitchen. I finally got the wardrobe racks out of the kitchen, but I still have shelving in there and stuff. It's difficult to live in. But I have to
literally consuming passion. You have a consuming passion.
You open a drawer in my house and you'll see, something from a movie. It's right now I don't know where my John Wick 2 gun is, but I know it's here somewhere.
Oh my God! See, that would my friend who has his name is John Kitley. He has a basement that is just full of like amazing posters. He's got not medicine cabinets, filing cabinets, the 4-drawer filing cabinets full of folded full sheets. And it's just amazing the posters he's got. If he comes in and he sees things that are not alphabetized, he starts to hyperventilate. So I could just see, where's my gun? He'd be like, where is your gun? We must find your gun now. But it's wonderful to hear that you have this kind of love for it. How do folks that are your loved ones, how do they deal with this kind of thing?
They don't.
They don't.
I live with my 6 birds, so I don't have the restrictions. And I get to adult my way, and that's like my bathroom's decked out Star Wars. I have a B-wing shower curtain and a stormtrooper rug on the floor. So
for me it's interesting because if my wife brings a girlfriend over and that girlfriend's husband, it's hit or miss. The husband's either like, oh my God, like I want to hug you, this is an amazing basement, or they just look and they don't get it. But I always like when they do get it.
Yeah.
And,
I love, this is why I talk about geekdom, the nerds, the geeks. We're the ones that are really we got heavy backbones. We got titanium backbones because we're willing to put what we're like right in front of everybody. And we know, especially if you're our age, when I was growing up, that was not hip. There's nothing cool about this stuff. Now it's okay. It's not great yet, but it's a much more.
Well, it depends, if it's Iron Man and Spider-Man, you're kosher.
Right. If it's Dark Waters, the medallion from Dark Waters, people are like, what the fuck's that? Why do you have the little baby hands from Child's Play, right?
Oh man, I've got the lobster boy hands from American Horror Story, the severed ones.
Oh, nice.
That's and all the tusk stuff. Those are things that get everybody going.
Kevin Smith's tusk.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I love how. What do you think is the one thing that makes people squee the most? Like for me, I'm one of those guys that I was into heavy metal. I loved Iron Maiden and all that, but I love telling people about a band they never heard of or something super rare. So a lot of us collectors, we love the thing that's like, I can't believe you have that.
I have the Human Centipede.
What of the Human Centipede?
I have two of the costumes and two harnesses from Human Centipede 3. And I have them on mannequins that are on all fours and chained together. And then I have, pre-pandemic, this was one of the most, or the biggest exhibits at our shows because to raise funds, we often would do a photo op with a prop thing, a small donation, you get to do something. So we have that extra harness in the back. So you get down and tie into the Human Centipede and take your photo. So
as the tail end.
Yeah. Right. You have a hose system that goes through the whole thing for the extra payment.
It's the worst film of the three.
Right.
But it's the one that everybody can participate in. So it's two prison suits and harnesses.
Oh my God, that's horrifying. That is horrifying. How about you, Ernie? Do you have anything that's like the thing that when you show it, the fans know what it is, but other people could just walk by and go, I don't know what that is?
So probably the thing that like freaks most people out is the Bible from The Exorcist.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's, arguably one of the scariest movies of all time. Some people have actually walked out of my house and said, I can't be in your house with that. There.
Wow.
I've literally had.
But Pazuzu is okay.
Right.
Pazuzu's okay.
He's showing his pee-pee. Yeah. He's vulnerable.
But the Bible is the one that has freaked the most people out of my house.
Yeah. See,
I guess I understand why.
Yeah. I mean, this talks to the power, right? We talked about how it's this passion, this obsession, but it's also a spiritual thing. These things matter because they touched us in a way, and that's why artists make art. Because they speak to us in a way that other things do not. And so the stuff that you've got, for some people, they might look at it as foam and plaster and plastic and wool. But for others, it is truly items that have crossed over into an area that is almost supernatural in and of itself, this creation of a whole different world. And you get to own that. And so I want to thank you, both of you, for being on the show and talking about this.
The Lust device from 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's really disturbing.
I just wanted to toss it in there as you thanked me, and we'll just leave it right there.
Yeah, we'll have to get a picture of that. But we'll not put a heading or anything.
I've never been able to bring that one out to a show, because there's always kids at shows. So, yeah.
Yeah. Not only that, I would think that'd be the kind of thing that some crazed fan would lunge for and try and take quickly. Before anybody knows. But thank you so much for all of this. Where can listeners follow you? What's coming up in the future? How can they support? How can they see?
Well, HSPPA and Spookies, they're both on Facebook. It's HSPPA and Spookies Swirls. There's an apostrophe S in there. Facebook, Instagram. HSPPA has a Twitter. Sorry, I call it HSPPA. HSPPA has Twitter and website hsppa.com, spookiesswirls.com. And yeah, that's where we are.
Any events coming up?
Spookies is going to be at Mad Monster Phoenix in July. Is that beginning of July? With our delicious cupcakes and whatnot. I can't go anywhere without props, so I'll probably have a few things there. not like a HSPPA display, but there'll be a few things there.
Have you had a TSA incident? Like they open up and there's a baby's head in there or something?
I generally I don't take these with any props I generally have in my carry-on. They have never gone through them, and like I was wondering for the Spirit of Giving, because I brought a couple items with me, and one of those was the laminate configuration from Hellraiser Hellworld, and it's all brass plating on the box, and then it was wrapped, and so I've got this cube with metal plating on it in my carry-on, but that didn't flip them at all, along with a ghost face mask and some hands, because you just do that, right? I'm on a list. My bag always gets checked. Like I always have that note from TSA that, hey, we went through everything you own.
Right.
And I think that dates back to It's Just a Game when we were filming that, because I provided a lot of the props. So when I flew down there with them, I had, I had the resin rubber real knives. I had foam and real crowbars. I had multiple masks and all of these things in my luggage. So I've been checked ever since on that end.
Well, you bring up something cool that I'd love to promote as well. Talk a little bit about your movie and where it can be seen.
It's Just a Game. It's a paranormal horror slasher thriller. Fucking awesome. I'm just really, really proud of it. So it was written and directed by Daniel Emery Taylor, who, if you remember the movie Return of Swamp Thing, he was the little redhead kid in that, and he grew up to write and direct horror movies. So he wrote and directed it. It kind of starts atypical with teen girls at a slumber party, and they're telling creepy pasta stories to each other. Only it turns out that the creepypastas are true, and they end up summoning Mother Murder and the paranormal assassin Skullgirl. And then hilarity and murder ensues. There's a twisted, goofy theater cult that follows Mother Murder, and they're bringing in the summoning and stuff. And Daniel plays the head of the cult, Brother Thaddeus. And he patterns his character off of King Tut from the Batman 66 TV show. And it's a theater. They live in a theater, and like he's playing a murderous version of himself as a former child actor. He's still obsessed with doing this. So a lot of his scenes in the film are him like trying to recite really badly, performances and stuff, and he's always wearing different makeup and different clothing, and just it's kind of off the wall, and then at the same time he's like killing people. And
it's available on Amazon Prime.
All right.
Yeah, it's on Prime, it's on Tubi, it's on Vudu, it's I think almost everywhere except Netflix.
Where's the best way for someone to watch it where they can support the independent filmmakers who do it?
Well, you can contact myself or Daniel or Ernie directly. We have copies of the Blu-ray, which we only released through a Kickstarter. There's also a comic book that goes with it. but the DVD that was put out by Wild Eye Releasing, and that's everywhere.
Great. And how about the book?
The book is on Amazon. All three of the books are on Amazon, or you can get them from, is that volume 1?
This is
volume. I think that was volume 3, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is the one that's got the white inside.
White background,
yeah.
Lessons learned.
Yes. All three of them are on Amazon. I am very low on items. I think I have like 2 copies of one left, multiple copies of 3. So you can always get them at our shows. Spookies, I think, has a few copies in store.
I'm looking forward to my next visit.
Yeah, me too.
Let's go. I can't wait.
Mine's in July.
Wonderful. Well, once again, Ernesto and James, thanks so much for coming on the show. And I want to thank not only you folks, but also I want to thank those of you that are out there listening in podcast land. I mean, thank you so much for listening to Hellbent for Horror, where I'm here to remind you that you used to love horror films and you secretly still do. And just remember to stay hellbent. Wow. Yeah, right on. Hey, thanks so much. And thanks for listening to the show. Hellbent for Horror was written and broadcast by me, S.A. Bradley, and produced by me and Lisa Gorski. You can find more on our website, hellbentforhorror.com, and I'm also on Facebook at facebook.com/Hellbent for Horror, and my Twitter handle is Hellbent Horror. Please hit that subscribe button to get H4H hot off the press. And if you can do a review on iTunes or whatever app you listen to us on, that really helps people get to find us. And now for some Hellbent for Horror news. The podcast is available on some more outlets now, so you can listen to H4H on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio, as well as the regular iTunes, Android, and Amazon apps. And let there be swag. H4H t-shirts are now on sale. We have a store on tpublic.com with a bunch of Hellbent for Horror designs, and you can have your choice of t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, something horrible beautiful for you or that someone special. The link to the merchandise store is on our website, hellbentforhorror.com. And until we meet again, stay hellbent.